So I'm cursed. Surprisingly, in more ways than one actually, but I'm not getting into my Neil Gaiman curse today. No, today's story starts in my childhood when my father first decided to show me Star Wars: A New Hope. And then it jumps pretty abruptly to when I was like 11, and I was first introduced to the world of Easter eggs. No, not those Easter eggs. Those Easter eggs. Trust me, they're called Easter egg. It's a thing. In this context, Easter eggs are those little nuggets or small details hidden in the background of a film. Maybe you were looking for them or you just happened to notice one. But either way, they allow you to go, hey, guys, it's that, isn't that thing? From the thing? But actually, Easter eggs are really fun, whether you're out hunting for them or you just happen upon one. They make you feel like you're part of something. They're an inside joke, and you're in on it. You're smarter than everyone else around you because you happen to notice that string of characters that just so happens to be the room number for the graphic design and character animation class at the California Institute of the Arts, where John Lasseter, Brad Bird, Tim Burton all studied together, and No, guys, it's fun! But of all the Easter eggs in film, one is used far more than anything else. And it's not an object like this Luxo ball, nor is it a cameo like Alfred Hitchcock. No, this is a soundbite. Listen to see if you recognize this. If you didn't, it's not because you haven't heard it before. This clip has been used in Indiana Jones, Gremlins, A Star is Born, Beauty and the Beast, Batman, Reservoir Dogs, A Goofy Movie, The Lord of the Rings, Phineas and Ferb, and yes, to bring it back to my childhood, Star Wars. But that's not it. For every one of those I listed, there are dozens more movies, TV shows, commercials, you name it, that all use this one sound effect. But if you do recognize this lovely noise, then you'll probably know it to be the infamous Wilhelm Scream. It's a scream that I can only describe as being used in so many movies simply for its use in so many before. But like, what the heck is it? Who is that? Why are they screaming? When was it first used? Why is it still being used today? And of course, why is it called the Wilhelm Scream? To trace the origins of this scream, we have to go all the way back to 1951 in a western called Distant Drums. In this movie, there is a scene in which the characters are wading through waist-high water, and one of them gets pulled under by an alligator. And sure enough, this is where we hear the first instance of the now iconic scream. And just like that, we've already got 3 of our questions answered. It was first used in Distant Drums, it was that guy screaming, and it's 'cause he got the old chomp and spin. Well, not exactly. 2 of those are correct, but to this day, we actually still have no idea who that was screaming. Let me explain. Almost everything you hear in a movie that isn't on-screen dialogue that you can see come out of a character's mouth with your very eyes is recorded after the fact in a process called ADR. And we actually have the original ADR recording of the screams used in this shot. The tape is called Man Gets Bitten by an Alligator and He Screams. But the thing is, while we have the recording and we can actually hear the man screaming, we still don't know who it was. But we have a pretty good guess. According to some other documentation for the film, there were only a few guys brought in to do the additional audio recording that day, and of them, historians believe the voice of the scream to be that of a man named Sheb Wooley. And this is weird, because by far the strangest thing I think there is about this whole tale is that the Wilhelm Scream isn't the only place you've heard Sheb Wooley's voice. With a quick Google search of his name, you'll quickly find out that he was the guy who wrote and sang The Flying Purple People Eater.
A one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater sure looks strange to me.
Like, what are the chances this random guy doing the audio recording for a scream he didn't know was gonna become, like, the biggest soundbite in film history was also the guy who wrote and sang the novelty song about a purple alien that wants to play rock and roll? Alright, now we can officially say that we've answered that question. But to mark off the other questions, we're gonna have to keep moving forward. The Scream's next appearance, and where it really had its breakout performance, was in another western called The Charge at Feather River, when it was used 3 times. And the most notable of those 3 is actually where it gets its name.
Wilhelm! Yeah, I'll just fill my pipe.
Did you catch that? Private Wilhelm. The Wilhelm Scream. And after that, it seemed to have just cemented itself in the Warner Bros. Sound library, being used again and again to express immense pain and anguish in a character. But even as frequently as it was used, it was still nowhere near as popular as it is today. And this is primarily because the public didn't really seem to notice. Someone who did notice, however, was Ben Burtt. Ben was a film student at the University of Southern California, along with Rick Mitchell and Richard Anderson, and he seemed to really like the Wilhelm Scream. So much so that he and the Ricks found a way to put it in almost every one of their student films. So when they went into the industry, Ben was actually able to sneak it into one of its most iconic roles today. In fact, during his time at Lucasfilm, Burtt was able to fit it into every Star Wars movie in the original trilogy and the prequels, every Indiana Jones movie to date, and even things like Howard the Duck. And now more and more people within the industry were starting to catch on to the joke, and it was gaining more traction. But soon, everything was about to change, because in 1991, the internet went online. This was a game changer for the whole world, not just the Wilhelm Scream, but specifically it's because a sound designer and a film historian named Steve Lee, who had been tracking down movies with the Wilhelm Scream in them and keeping a definitive list for himself, decided to make it public and post it online. And this was the drop of water that broke the dam. Now, everyone in sound design was using this in their movies, and anyone even remotely aware of sound design was noticing them in movies and knew what it was. The big name directors like Quentin Tarantino and Peter Jackson were using it in some of the biggest blockbusters of that decade. But even more impactful were the hundreds of film students every year playing the sound clip in their movies. It was starting to get a bit out of hand. And sadly, it got so much so that the man who popularized it himself, Ben Burtt, said that he was no longer going to use it. He was retiring it from his arsenal of sound effects. His reason? It's just not fun anymore when everyone's using it. And this really begs the question, have we reached the point where we have too much of a good thing? Or is it just evolving into something new? I think we can solve this problem if we actually answer our last question from before. Why are people still using the Wilhelm Scream? Some say that it's a sort of language between filmmakers. They equate it to a dog sniffing a fire hydrant. When they hear it, there's a sense of familiarity, and maybe they'll look in the credits to see if they recognize some names. But when more and more dogs pee on a fire hydrant, it just starts to get gross. Others believe that it's a way for filmmakers to feel like they're part of something greater. It's a sort of rite of passage to put the Wilhelm Scream in your movie. So when more people contribute, it just adds to the growing community. But I think that it's best summed up by Quentin Tarantino's first reaction to the Wilhelm Scream. Steve Lee, the guy who wrote the definitive list of Wilhelm Screams, was a sound consultant on one of Tarantino's first movies, Reservoir Dogs. And apparently the day Steve pitched the idea of using the Wilhelm Scream in the movie, he went back to his office to find none other than distant drums playing on the TV set. He went back to tell Tarantino, who then asked him, hey, can you give us a heads up when it's coming on? And he said yeah, so he gave him like a 5-minute warning, so they all crammed into his small office to watch the scene with the alligator. And when the scream actually happened, Quentin went nuts. He could not contain himself. He started running around the room, bouncing off the walls, yelling, "That's in my movie! That's in my movie!" He was just so excited to use the scream. The pure joy felt by Quentin Tarantino in that moment sums up the impact of the Wilhelm Scream perfectly. Young filmmakers don't put the Wilhelm Scream in their movies to be part of something greater, the film industry itself, nor do they do it to pee on the fire hydrant. No, they do it as a celebration of film itself. Tarantino was just as excited as any aspiring filmmaker just to use the sound clip because of its place in film history. It is no longer just a scream, nor is it even man gets bitten by an alligator and he screams. It is the Wilhelm Scream, and it will be that until the end of film itself. So the next time you hear this, remember that you are not just listening to this movie, but every movie that came before it and every movie that will come after. Nowadays, I don't even hear a scream. I can't hear a scream anymore. I just hear the Wilhelm Scream. And with that, I'm sorry to say, but I've passed the curse along to you. Hello, my name is Kai, and welcome to the Theoretical YouTube channel, where that was actually a class assignment, so the formatting was kind of weird. Then I got a haircut, so I couldn't do what I was planning and just, splice together clips. Yeah. But nevertheless, I'll still be doing this outro, since apparently that's just how YouTubers function. So how do you feel about the Wilhelm Scream? Is it a neat little treasure you like to find every time, or just a pest that you can't seem to get rid of? However you feel free to feel those feelings in the comment section down there. You can also like this video if you did, or subscribe if you want similar content in the future. But if you're looking for something right now, we have quite a few more of these brief histories to go through, and if you're especially into film history, we have one for both movie trailers and movie credits. You could also follow us on Twitter at Theory_Central if you don't want to be attacked by an alligator tonight. But that's it in this video, so for now, thanks for watching and we'll see you later.